What is the blood moon? Well, the blood moon is upon us right now. And in just a few days, the moon will be full on April 15th. And it is a total lunar eclipse as opposed to partial or annular or penumbral, the various different kinds of eclipses. The total eclipse means that there is an exact straight line alignment. You could draw a straight line through the center of the sun and the earth and the moon in that order, and they would all connect. That's theoretically. I mean, they say that light travels in the curve, so it might affect our viewing of objects, but that's debatable. On a total eclipse, because of what we can observe, it shows the perfect alignment. What's a blood moon, though? Well, the blood moon is an atmospheric effect that is put on the full moon during the eclipse. It goes dark and then it turns to red, as long as the conditions are right and that you're viewing it in the proper place on the earth. It can't be seen from everywhere, since it only lasts for about an hour or two, and if you're not facing the moon at that time, you're not going to see it. In other words, if it happens when it's high noon where you are, you're missing it. So eclipses are characterized by that geographic favorability. They're characterized by the weather conditions, because if there's too many clouds, obviously you're not going to see it. And it's characterized by the schedule of the moons. So that's according to the cycle called Saros, which is actually a misnomer from a Greek term. But basically they found out that there were several different kinds of cycles of how the moon would move in coordination with the earth and the sun. And there's a metonic cycle, which is like a 20-year cycle, and it depends on what you're looking for as far as alignments. And what we're concerned about right now on this April 15th is that the moon is in a series of 4 total lunar eclipses. So since there's a series of 4 of them, they call it a special term called a tetrad, and that stands for 4. They also have 3 in a row total lunar eclipses. I keep trying to say solar. Solar eclipses are involved with this, and they fit in between the lunar eclipses. In other words, after this lunar eclipse, we're going to have a solar eclipse within that next 6 months. And then, basically 6 months after the April 15th, there is going to be one in October, which is the next total lunar eclipse. And then you're going to have another 6 months period. And basically I'll run through the movement here. This is the Earth, and this is the moon going around it. And when you go from here to here, that's 6 months, because when you go all the way around, it's 12 months. So you see where the Earth is right now? That is 6 months later, when there will be another total lunar eclipse. And as you go around, there will be solar eclipses as well. So let's stop this movement. Basically, all this talk has come about because John Hagee wrote a book, and they are trying to sell it. And I think it's shameful. I think that John Hagee is a false prophet and an ignorant, greedy person, because he's not putting out truth. And I don't have any reason to read the book, because I've already read his material previously and I've listened to his preaching. Christianity is not well regarded. He's just not a good representative of it today. But you can't pin all the blame on John Hagee. Here is a prophet that I consider to be more or less correct. He's way ahead of John Hagee. And his name is Richard Tapley. I think I got that right. He calls himself the third eagle of the apocalypse, or the co-prophet of the end times. So those are his phrases that he uses for himself. Basically, his Third Eagle books, you can see it up here. He is doing 3 or 4 videos about the 4 blood moons. Now, I don't really want to go into too many details because I've already been rambling through something that's very scientific and probably it's hard to follow along. The proper visuals. And, I'm sorry that I'm not able to do that right now in my really cheap studio here. But what I do want to conclude with is the fact that John Hagee started on this sensationalism. But that's not any reason to throw out the baby with the bathwater, because there is some truth to the prophecy here. And if you would listen to the Third Eagle videos here, you will gain some insight. So I don't mind recommending these videos. Here they are. See where he's got these figures? Looks like 4 red discs. That's the 4 red moons, blood moons. So he did a bunch of videos a few weeks ago. And I just say don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, because there's something to this. In general, a lot of people are now trying to connect the blood moon of, let me see if I can find it. They're trying to connect the blood moons of 1949 with the blood moons of 1967 and the blood moons of today. They're trying to connect it with the modern state of Israel. And I'm going to tell you there is some truth to it, but it's not in the way that, I don't know why. This is not the channel that I wanted to look at right now. There's something to this connection of those dates, because those are the 3 tetrads in a row. And a tetrad is 4 moons in a row. So there could be a tetrad, and then 20 or 30 or 40 years later there could be another tetrad. But here's the weird thing, is that up until 1949, there's about over 400 years, there weren't any tetrads. Let me say that again so we can conclude, because this is the thing that I have to do a lot of research into. Over 400 years passed until 1949 for the Earth to experience another 4 blood moon. That means 4 of these total lunar eclipses in a series divided by 6 months. There wasn't one for over 400 years. Now, I don't know if that's true. I'm still researching it. I'm looking at all the data. I'm looking at the NASA site as well, which sometimes people say they lie, but I'm going to look at this and see if I can poke any holes in it. But there you go, folks. That's what it's all about.